Morning, folks. Welcome back to a very misty morning here on the farm. It's actually nice and cool, getting a lot of moisture. We've been really desperate for that over the last, month. So won't complain about that. Yesterday was chicken butchering day. As you can hear, old Rooster Cogburn over there survived the day. Not because I have a heart, not because he did it, he behaved himself or anything like that. Just because at the end of butchering 60 chickens, we were all done. So there was, there was myself, my wife, sister and brother-in-law times 2, plus my mother and father-in-law. So full house in the shop, all hands on deck to get 60 chickens butchered and into the coolers. So they're still on ice here this morning, and they're going to stay in there on ice until later today, and then we're going to get everything into the freezers. They're all diced up and ready to go. Now, I know a few people are probably a little bit disappointed. Well, why didn't you show us chicken butchering day? It was a lot of hype leading up to chicken butchering day. The reason being, last time I did chicken butchering day and I put out that video, I would say 85% of the crowd was just like, yes, this is informative, this is educational, thank you very much. 15% of the crowd was just like, it's snowing in July. Man, oh man, like, did I ever hurt some feelings? So I just, for the sake of that, plus the fact that I needed both hands, like, we started, what was it, 4:30, 5 o'clock-ish, where the first one got, and then, man, I don't even know, it must have been close to 10:30 by the time we were done, because, all the cutting and everything that has to take place, right? It takes time, right? So even with that many hands, it doesn't take long to actually, kill them and pluck them and gut them, but it's all the processing, even just portioning, get everything into bags. So it's just much, much easier down the road. It is a bit of an investment in some time. Anyway, so here I am at 5:30 in the morning, kind of bewildered, like what do I do for chores now? Like, because that one thing was such a huge portion of the day, coming out in the morning, moving chicken tractors, feeding chickens twice a day. And now what do I do? Well, I still have the layer chickens to feed. I still got the pigs to feed. I got to figure out, where to put these guys over here, which they're going to go where the meat chickens come from. Actually, I'm going to put that fence back here later this evening. And then the meat chickens can come in, not the meat chickens, the rams can come into there and graze this piece of grass off a little bit more before we move them in behind the shop. So now the question comes up, and it comes up often, let me tell you. You're still on my books, Mr. Rooster. Anyways, the question comes up, how do you not get emotionally attached to the animals you raise, whether it's chickens, sheep, pigs, cows, what have you, right? How do you raise them up from babies, and then when they're mature, look them in the eye and end their life? And it's no small thing by any means to take something's life. That's absolutely not. That's a big deal. So you can't come at it like a cold-hearted son of a bitch. No, you definitely can't. You could, and some people do. And that's why we have psychopaths in the world. But no, from an agricultural standpoint, you come at it from a point of humility and gratitude, and that's really how you reconcile yourself to that, and pride, and as well, because obviously in a job well done, and animals well cared for, you're thankful for the opportunity to raise the animal in a humane way. You're humbled by the fact that the animal gives its life to provide for your table or for the tables of others. And I think a lot of vegans could reconcile with some omnivores if just the omnivores recognize, there's just some recognition that there's a life, there's a cost to your diet, right? And if you honestly, people had a better understanding of where food really comes from, as opposed to just the sealed plastic chicken breast or whatever you get from the grocery store, where it's I mean, it's just a transaction. That's all that is, right? Between you and a corporation. There's no bond between farmer and livestock in that particular case, and that's really the disconnect in society. So trust me when I say there's no great joy taken out of taking a life. That's certainly not the enjoyable part of it. It is still a tough day on the farm, and I mean, we're talking about yesterday we took 60 lives, right? That's when you think about it, it's kind of morbid. I shouldn't laugh because it's not funny, but I guess sometimes when you deal in this business, you just laugh to deal with the sadness of it all, right? So, but no, it is a good day for us. These guys don't seem to think so because their cousins are down the road in the chiller, but it's a good day for us. We have a lot more food security now. We're looking at having chicken all the way through the winter, whereas last year we did 30 birds. We split that a couple 3 ways, and we were probably a month. They were like, running to Costco to get chicken. Well, that doesn't make a lot of sense, right? So this year we'll get through the entire winter with a freezer full of chicken, and that's the good side of it. And so the other good side of this is, I mean, you are what you eat, essentially, right? I mean, so aside from a few bags of chick starter that we gave those meat chickens, they're fed entirely on pasture and then supplemented with locally grown grains that we get from Bloom Enterprises. But we know exactly what went into those chickens. Every morning at 5 o'clock in the morning, I'm out there feeding those chickens and moving the chicken tractors onto a fresh patch of grass. And so the end result is a much healthier, much more nutrient dense product that I'm comfortable feeding to my family or to my extended family, and I don't have to worry about any long-term effects of formaldehyde, pesticides, even just the fact that when you go to the grocery store and the meat has been plumped because they inject salt water into it, as opposed to just naturally brining chicken like it should be when but anyways, that's a story for another day. The end result is a much better product that I can take that pride in. So what are some lessons learned from chicken butchering day? Well, like I said, we did 60 chickens yesterday. Rule number 1, if you're going to do that many chickens, is get a chicken plucker, because there's no way you can do that by hand. Rule number 2 is make sure you got enough people downstream of the chicken plucker. So this one's a little older. It's 100 times better than doing it by hand, but there's still going to be some feathers that you do have to remove by hand. So you're going to need a pin feather station, by all means, right, where you can clean everything up. And then you also need a lot of people on the inside working to gut and debone or process whatever you're doing to look your final product is going to look like. You need a lot of people to manage that. So we had an average of 2 to 3 people outside alternating throughout the night and like 5 inside the shop. And I would say, honestly, inside processing, you need to be a lot more top heavy with the hands in there than you ever do out. I mean, honestly, out here, one person can probably keep up to 4 people processing with cutting, bleeding out, scalding, and plucking. You can supply easily 4 people on the downstream side. The other thing, as I said the other day, making sure when I got a bee on my finger here, hopefully I don't get stung. Breathe. Fly away, Mr. Bee. Oh, he's gonna stay right there. I gotta just blow him off here. There we go. Okay, I'm back. The other thing we learned, what was it? Lost my train of thought there for a second. Yes, have all your chickens in a row. Yeah, don't. Things like the chicken plucker, something super simple. Make sure it's working. Make sure you got plastic on your tables. Make sure your knives are sharp. Make sure you got a place to put all the feathers and the guts and everything like that. Make sure you got enough bags to put all your chickens in. Make sure you got cooler space and ice and all of that stuff ahead of time, so you're not last minute just like flight of the bumblebee, right? Flight of the bumblebee, running around with your chicken like your head cut off. Anyways, scrambling to pull this together. because that can just derail things. And not only can it derail things for you, but the 7 people that come and help you, or however many, now you could be wasting their time. And then if that's the case, then maybe they won't come back to help you next year. So you want to make sure it's smooth and efficient. Everybody has a job, everybody knows what they're doing, and it just runs like a well-oiled machine. The other lesson from chicken butchering day, if you're like us and you have free-range laying hens, make sure 24 hours prior to butchering day, at nighttime, when they're in the chicken house, that door gets closed because these guys, they're complete psychopaths. You'll be cutting heads off meat birds, and they'll be trying to retrieve them and haul them off as a snack. Like they're complete psychos. So make sure they're penned up, and they won't bother you around the kill station. They won't bother you around the plucking station, and you're not going to end up feeding chicken to chicken, albeit accidentally or otherwise. Just make sure they're penned up. And lastly, make sure you have a plan for the waste, because I mean, what are you going to do with the guts and heads and feathers of 60 birds? That's a lot. I mean, that's a lot more than you think, right? You're talking like 30% of your body mass for that bird is disposable. And now what are you going to do with all that? Now maybe you can use it for compost, but that's a lot, right? Again, that's a lot. Most compost piles can't absorb that much. Maybe they can take the feathers, right? Some of the internal organs and stuff that you're not going to keep, can you then turn around and make dog food out of that? Sure, absolutely, right? But some of the stuff like the bones and whatnot, if you're cooking it for dog food, you can't really feed it to your dogs, right? So you're just going to have to figure out exactly how you dispose of all this stuff so that you're not bringing in predators, you're not bringing in rodents, you're not bringing in scavengers like magpies and ravens and things like that. And you don't have this rotting, stinking pile of something in your backyard, because that would be pretty gross. Anyway, without further ado, I do believe I should head off to work for the day. So I hope you have a fantastic day, and we'll see you tomorrow.